estimating decimals. Now, yesterday we ordered and compared them. When you're ordering and comparing them, we're learning how to see which one's bigger than the other one. Looking at small and big. All right? Today we're going to round or estimate decimals. Now, there's going to be something a little bit different in this than what you've done in the past, especially in your elementary, because you've got to clean out your brain a little bit and put a new spot in your rounding place. Because in elementary, you were taught to either round up or round down. But when we're being real specific with rounding decimals, we're going to do something slightly different. Okay, so you've got to remember what you've already learned in elementary, because that works on whole numbers. For instance, if you're rounding 354. If you round 354, you could round up to 400, right? Or you could round down to 350, right? But when we're dealing with decimals and rounding decimals, we've got to be a little more specific, and there's no rounding down. And I'll go over that in just a minute, okay? So prepare a new spot in your brain, and don't go, well, I thought we were going to round down. We do when we're dealing with whole numbers. But when we're dealing with decimals, it's slightly different. We want to be more specific. Okay? So, first thing we got to remember is PV. What's PV? Place value. We did this second week of school or third week of school when we were talking about decimals, just plain old decimals, knowing which digit was in which place value. So real quickly, let's go over our place values again. Right here on the left, 1. Okay? Sometimes when it's talking money, the ones, they don't say round this money to ones. No, it says round it to the nearest dollar. Remember that? So we got to keep that on there too. Girlfriend, if you want to slide back a whole lot so you can see through me, go ahead. Slide your chair too and desk and everything. Wickwalk may want to also. All right. What's this one out here? Tens. Tens. Alrighty. We could keep going. Hundreds. Thousands. But today, remember, our main concern is the decimal side. So what's on this side? Ten thus. T-H-S. And you got to use your tongue. Thuh. 10 thus. Thus. All right. Now, next one is hundred thus. Thus. 100 thus.
Speaking of numbers, did you know that all the numbers up to 1,000 don't have the letter A in them?
Good job. All right. Next one. Thou, sand, thus. Thousand thus. Now, in dealing with money, this column is what, money-wise?
Cents.
Wrong.
10 cents.
It's the dimes, the 10 cents. And that's the most common mistake, Carl, okay? We've got to be careful. That is not the cents. What is the cents? The hundreds is the cents or the pennies, right? In this one right here, the pennies,
Yes.
when we're dealing with money, we looked at that yesterday when we compared decimals. This is the pennies. So if they ask you round this to the nearest cent, they're talking about this place value, not this one. This is the nearest 10 cents, nearest dime. Okay? Everybody with me? And this is the nearest dollar. This would be the nearest $10, the nearest $100, etc., if we're talking money. Okay, we got to remember our place value. All right, so now we come, and our question's going to look like this. We want to round our number to the nearest hundredth, or we want to round our number to the nearest tenth, or the nearest thousandth. All righty? That's the type of question we're going to be looking at.
Were we supposed to write that?
Okay, so here we go. The how-to. The how-to. How do we round to the nearest hundredth when we're given 384 thousandths, or 0.384? Here's the how-to. Everybody, we're going to do this first one as we write our notes. It's going to be nice and slow. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Circle. Circle the PV that is being asked to round. Circle the PV that is being asked to round. Of course, PV is place value. So, up here in our first instructions, it wants us to round to the nearest hundredth. We check our PV that we wrote in our notes. Where is the hundredths? Second place to the right. Which is what digit in our first example?
8.
The 8. So circle the 8. Now y'all, in 27 years of teaching, I'm changing my wording for the first time this year. Because I've decided in my mind that a lot of people pick this up, but there's several people who don't pick this up, and maybe it's the way I'm teaching it. So I'm changing my wording a little bit this year. I used to say underline it. Well, next year I'm going to say we're going to circle it. And then we're going to do something else that's even probably a little weirder or more weird. Just stay with me. I'm just trying to catch those that this doesn't come easy to. Now I've got a parenthesis here with an arrow, right? I mean, there's more to this. Okay. We're going to circle the PV that is being asked to round. And here's what I talked about earlier. This number will stay the same or go up by 1. That's my little point that I'm going on from what I said earlier. This number that we've circled, it's either going to stay what it is in our rounding, or it's going to go up by 1 in our rounding. It will not round down because we're doing decimals and we've got to be very specific. We're not going to round down. It's either going to stay the same or it's going to go up 1. Is everybody with me on that? All right. Here's number 2, and this is the weird one. I used to say draw an arrow under blah, 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 but I'm changing something to try to help us have a Jordanism to remember. Draw an eyeball. I know, that's freaky. I know. Maybe it's because it's Halloween or something. I don't know. Draw an eyeball under the PV to the right of the circle. Draw an eyeball. kind of freaky, and I used to say draw an arrow here, but it didn't help students truly think what we're doing. So I said, well, this year it just popped in my head, let's just put an eyeball. So under the 4, draw an oval, put an eyeball in there, and then sometimes you girls, y'all like putting little bitty eyelashes on there. All right? An eyeball. What does an eyeball imply to us?
See.
Look at it or see, right? It means look here. Maybe that eyeball will stick in our head, oh yeah, I'm supposed to look here to the right of my circled number. Look at that number. This number that has the eyeball where I'm looking will tell us whether we round up or whether we stay the same. We don't round down. You started to say it, didn't you? We don't round down. It's either going to go up or we stay the same. What time we got, Brad?
11:19.
11, okay. We're probably going to have to do 2 today. All right, so we're looking there. If this number is 5 or what? Higher. You want to say greater, higher, more? That's up to you. I'll put greater. 5 or greater. The circle number goes up by 1. If this number is 5 or greater, the circle goes up by 1. The circle number goes up by 1. What's the second part of number 3? If this number is
Smaller.
less or smaller than 5, what? The circle number, what? Stays the same. Remember, we're not rounding down. It stays what it is. Writing that down, brother?
I'm trying to figure out where I can fit it because I don't know.
What do you mean you can't fit it?
I ran out of room right there, so I'm trying to figure out where I can fit it.
Well, you better figure it out pretty quick, because we're about to keep writing. Draw an arrow from that position down there underneath where you got some more room. Draw an arrow. I'm going to put it over. Where are you drawing it? Oh, man. I'm glad those are your notes, because I wouldn't be able to figure it out. But just so you can figure it out, buddy. So, look in here. My eyeball says, look at the 4. Is it more than 5 or less than 5? Less than 5. If it's less than 5, my circle number stays the same. So my circle 8 stays 8. Write it down. Stays 8. Nope, we got one more step here. Oh yeah, one more step. All digits to the left of circle stay the same. All digits to the left of the circle are going to stay the same. Now remember, this is after we've already done our rounding number. I didn't say I rounded it. I said it's the number I'm trying to round. Right?
14:30.
Now, look to the left of